But in the meantime, let's continue talking politics, specifically, though, about California. We're going to be joined by our friend in studio there in the Bay Area, Brian Sobel, and my colleague here, Lexi Petrovich, in our studio here in Phoenix. And Brian, Lexi, we are kind of in the home stretch here as well. Lexi, I'll leave it to you first. All eyes right now on California. This Senate primary is so interesting. What are you watching for right now?
Yeah, so interesting. And Andrew, you had a great conversation with Fox 11's Alex Michelson talking all about the rise that Steve Garvey has had, a once LA Dodger, now in the race for California Senate. And I think he's surprised a lot of people. But really what stands out to me so much about this race in particular and his climb that he has had is that Adam Schiff, the amount of money that he's spent to try to make Garvey the #2 person on this ballot come November, and spending over $11 million on ads to try to get him into the race. Obviously, it'd be very competitive, too, if Katie Porter were to come out higher in the polls tonight. So a lot they were watching for, but it's definitely very interesting just to see this dynamic and how the advertisements have played a role in this.
You know, Brian, I'm kind of curious. Is it your view, or maybe some there, that Steve Garvey's in over his head?
I don't know if he's in over his head, but this is a decision that he made only in the last year to run for the Senate. And he's not, of course, a lifelong politician. And so that's been evident on the campaign trail, has trouble answering very pointed questions at times. I think for coming up to speed quickly, he's tried to do that. But he is the beneficiary of the Adam Schiff campaign, putting all that money out there. Every ad that Schiff ran practically talked about Steve Garvey being or California Democrats and California in general. And Steve Garvey has only Adam Schiff to thank for where he is tonight.
All right, so Brian, some would say that's just pure politics. That's what you have to do to make it. To the detriment, though, of Barbara Lee and Katie Porter. They must know this is going on. They must know, they must acknowledge that that's what Schiff's up to.
Oh, absolutely. I would imagine that there were conversations between the campaigns that were pretty heated about this, because it's very clear what the Schiff campaign was doing. They spent millions and millions of dollars up and down the state of California saying that Steve Garvey was a threat to the state. And the whole end purpose of that was to have Adam Schiff come out on top and then see Steve Garvey. And because of the registration in California and all the other factors at play, it would be a shocker of shockers if Steve Garvey could knock off Adam Schiff when we get to the election.
Yeah, that's something to look to as well. But meanwhile, we're also following some of these House races as well tonight. In particular, I wanted to ask you about House District 47, which would be Katie Porter's seat. That's one of the most competitive, right?
Yes. In the absence of Porter, that seat is in play. And in fact, Lexi, the Republicans, if they were to have you know, a bad night in November as a result of what's going on in the primary, could tip the balance in the House of Representatives. So the Porter seat is very important, and there are a number of other House seats that are in contest tonight. And if the Democrat or the Republican is the strongest candidate there, it may present a problem for the other side.
You know, Brian, I think people might be confused about this. I think I kind of was as well. If you're Porter, if you're Lee, if you're Schiff, and you want to take a stab at senatorial politics, not in the House there, you don't just get to serve the remainder of your term in the House. That has to open up its own election. In some states, that's not the case.
Well, as I've said numerous times, Andrew, the problem is, and it's not a problem, it is the fact that every state has its own rules.
Okay.
Every party in every state has its own rules. And because of that, it's very, very hard to really lay out an accurate roadmap. It's why, by the way, during a general election, that especially at a national level, like for president, they have lawyers standing on speed dial in every state because every state has its own wrinkles. And so that's the case here tonight and moving forward in California.
Yeah, so we have it up on the screen here, Brian. Not sure if you can see, but some of the candidates in U.S. House District 47 and some of the results with about 46% of estimated votes counted. Brian, if you could, and I have Lexi here. She's been studying these races, too. This is House District 47. Scott Baugh, Dave Min tied right now at 30%. Brian, we'll start with you. Where is Katie Porter's district? For those of us not in California, we don't live here. What does that comprise of, and how tough is this going to be tied between Baugh and Min?
Well, I think it's going to be a fight, through the night for a final. Porter is in Southern California. I can't articulate exactly where the confines of her district are. She is a Southern California a representative to the House and in the greater Los Angeles area, and so that is a highly contested part of the state. Lots of congressional seats and a good race going on tonight on the Democrat side of the aisle.
You know, Brian, I was just told there, for those who aren't from California, so Porter represents Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, parts of Irvine as well here. So Brian, sometimes that district can go purple or red. So this is why this is such an important race, because it has kind of flip-flopped back and forth every 2 years between blue and red, and we'll just have to wait and see, right?
Right. When we're talking about the greater Los Angeles area, that specific area is Orange County. And Orange County has long been, as you say, purple, even red in years past, Porter being the exception. And so, and why? Because, frankly, there's a lot of wealth in Orange County and a lot of conservative office holders in Orange County. And so it becomes very personality driven.
Yeah, and I want to ask you too about Scott Baugh in particular, because he lost to Porter by less than 4 percentage points in 2022. So seeing him now neck and neck with Dave Min tonight, what do you make of that?
Same thing. The longer somebody stays in these races, the better their name recognition becomes. Oftentimes we see members that run not once, but twice, 3 times before they're in the mix. And again, I think we're seeing a number of these races tonight where it's really close. But some of these candidates have been around for a while, held other offices, and are not household names, but known to voters.
Yeah, Brian, let's move on. Lexi, let's move on from this race specifically here. We got a lot of other House races there in California we're monitoring as well. We also have these 2 live pictures there from the Schiff camp and the Garvey camp as well. We're expecting to hear from them. What is it? It's about 8:45 there in California. Brian, my question to you is, what about turnout tonight? I was asking Alex Michelson, I was asking Greg Lee, are California voters plugged in yet or not? What do you think?
The answer is, and my friend Greg Lee, who's a great political reporter, has a finger on the pulse. But the thing is that California does not seem to get actively involved until very late in campaigns. And this is despite millions of dollars being spent on campaign ads and everything else. But late in the game, California starts coming to the fore and understanding that they need to take notice of things. Now, in the senatorial race, these ads have been playing in every market in California for weeks and weeks and weeks. And not just on broadcast television, on cable, on social media, in direct mail. The bombardment has been nonstop. But typically, to your question, typically California is not as interested in politics as early as a lot of other states.
All right, Brian Sobel, we got to leave it at that. We do appreciate all of your analysis tonight, but also throughout the primary cycle as well. I know we're going to be speaking again. Lexi Petrovich, she's staying on with me. We have a lot more California House races left to get to.